Chargers linebacker Daiyan Henley, and you're tuning in with Chargers Unleashed.
Welcome to another edition of Chargers Unleashed. Jake Hefner and Dan Wolkenstein here with you from the LAFB Network. If this is your first time tuning in the show, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Apple Podcasts. Dan Wolkenstein, how are you, sir? As I just stumble over my words on this Thursday evening. See, Wednesday evening. I am starting this show off with a fucking bang. If you guys tuned into the show a week ago when we did the live show, I was all over the place, and apparently 1 week later does not do me any good. I am already starting off on a bad note. So let's get the show started. Dan, let's talk some fucking Chargers football. Let's go to work.
Both of us can't be perfect today. I guess we're going to have to ride on one of us today. Sure as hell ain't going to be you and probably not me. So we're going to have to rely on all of the Chargers fans in the chat.
No pleasantries on this podcast. Let's just get them out of the way.
Get all of the expletives out early so we can get on with the show. Chargers Unleashed Hotline is live. We have about 4 voicemails here and counting. 323-902-7586 is the number. Again, 323-902-7586. You probably got about 45 minutes or so until we probably stop the hotline for today. Jake, a lot of folks happy about your intro, and it makes my heart melt. But
I'm glad they're happy. Like I say, if I can't make people laugh, I'm not doing my job. So even if it is at my own expense, I'll take it.
Yes. But what makes my heart melt even more is when weather strikes, we know where we can find Jake with a not full length sleeved hoodie. And folks in the chat, folks live, look who we have joining us today, Mr. Jake Hefner. Let's see the sleeves, Jake. Let's see. Show them off. Oh, they stop before the elbow.
Yeah. Once again, it's not Belichick. Okay.
ASAP CJ23. Is this live or pre-recorded? I'm pretty confident we would have chalked this up as an L and started over if it wasn't live.
Yeah, we would have started over if the show went the way it did. If this was pre-recorded, we would have started over. That's for sure. But what are you going to do? Live on a Wednesday night or Thursday night, as I like to call it.
It's Wednesday night somewhere. It's also Thursday night somewhere.
Man.
Steven Zhao says, "What's up, boys? How are you?" I'm great. Steven, how are you? Jake, how are you, my friend?
I was better 5 minutes before this show started. Thanks for asking.
Tina Talks just gives an all caps LMAO with a bunch of crying faces and emojis. ASAP says, "LOL, my first time catch you guys. Love it. BTFU." Hey, amen. Amen. Robert D says, "Jake, the draft Sith Lord." I think he meant Darth.
That's all right. I'll take draft.
We're off to an amazing start.
Hey, I can't speak. It's fine. You can call it whatever you want tonight. It doesn't matter.
We have accepted it. Kevin Kernick, friend of the show, is in the chat as well as friend of the show, Brad Spicoli. Hey, all the OGs are here today. This is fantastic.
Good turnout.
So, topics for today. We have the hotline. Jake and I, neither of us, have listened to the hotline. I've literally downloaded, uploaded, and we're just going to let it rip. If you have questions, please put them in the chat as well. We can go ahead and kind of go through these and answer them real time. Steven says, "I'm good, boys. I have an ice cream with my 3-year-old. That is the life." Yes, which I love it. I have an ice cream. Okay, what ice cream? Real quick, now that we're on this topic, since we're off the rails 5 minutes into this, folks in the chat, I need to know if there was one condiment and you were stranded on an island, you could only have one condiment, but all the food, but just one condiment, what would you choose? And tell me something better than ketchup. Jake, that's your answer?
Mine may be considered generic, low-hanging
fruit. Say mayonnaise.
No, I'm not that disgusting.
Oh, okay.
But I know enough people that don't like ranch dressing. I love ranch dressing. So
yeah, that is Jake, that is basically the same thing.
It is not the same thing. You bite your tongue. Do not disrespect ranch dressing like that.
Salt is not a condiment, chat, okay? I'm talking like sauces. I'm not talking spices. Get out of here with that. Chick-fil-A sauce, says Tony.
I mean, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, barbecue sauce is up there for me, but ketchup, here is my thing. I put ketchup on things every time of the day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I can't go breakfast, anything savory, without ketchup. Lunch, burgers, hot dogs, dinner, burgers, hot dogs, fries, whatever, you name it. Maybe hot sauce. Hot sauce is up there for me too. But to answer his question, mint chocolate chip ice cream. That's my jam. Daughter loves mint chocolate chip ice cream. Jake, what's your ice cream flavor? We'll get a talk eventually, I promise.
I thought we were talking football tonight. I don't discriminate when it comes to sweets. I have a very big sweet tooth. So, ice cream, cheesecake is a big thing for me. I will eat the crap out of that. But mine is always citrus style candy. So you give me a Starburst, you give me Skittles. I'll take the cavity that I will be getting from the dentist from that for sure.
Now you're talking. Yeah. People, okay, this is Chargers Unleashed for you. Ready? Peter F says, ketchup is the worst. I'm not 10. I don't put it on anything. And then he proceeds to say ranch, which, by the way, is so ironic. And then right afterwards, James Wagner comes in with the pancakes and ketchup.
I love the chat.
Starburst and Skittles are the Achilles heel. Starburst and Skittles might be my next fantasy football team name. Or Sour Patch Kids. Hell, why not? All right, let's get it. Enough of this.
What I was trying to say in my intro before I completely fumbled it and we went off on this tangent during the first 8 minutes of the show. Welcome to the show, everyone. We crafted this show, obviously, as we normally do, where you guys drive the topics, you guys drive the subject matters. The keys are in your hands for the show for the next hour. But we wanted to utilize the Chargers Unleashed hotline for this show. Fire up the hotline once again. So if you guys are in the chat, we do already have a few voicemails already ready. But if you are in the chat and you would like to call into the hotline, you can do so live. Dan will receive the voicemail and we can play it on the show and obviously talk about everything as it relates to what your questions are. And of course, we're going to fill this time to talk about this week in Chargers OTAs. We had a certain veteran signing just within the last hour that we'll talk about. But again, you guys drive the subject matter for this show today. So whatever your comments are, put them in the chat. Give us a call on the Chargers Unleashed hotline. Dan will put the number up in a second. But let's talk some Chargers football.
Let's do it. Again, phone number for the hotline, 323-902-7586. Let's scroll at the bottom. Last food-related one for a bit. Let me find out, says Demetrius Jones. One of you actually likes Doritos ketchup flavored or Lay's ketchup flavored.
Dan,
right, that's too far. That's too far.
Not. I was going to ask if that was going to be one of your, No, not even ketchup related. It doesn't do it for you.
No,
okay.
I don't think so. Matthew Dahl says, so if you guys are confused about my voicemail, it's basically asking to make me happy about this interior offensive line. All right. So one of these is Matthew Dahl. So let's get
we'll keep that in mind.
We'll get to this voicemail list now. Let's start off the hotline. First one in no particular order. I have no idea which one's which. So let's just play this one first. Here we go.
Hey, the Sandman here. I've been.
Is that Adam Sandler?
First of all, that's great. Whoever is doing this, that's really good. Let's see what the rest of it has in store.
I just fan for a long time. And I was just wondering, I seen Justin Herbert throw the ball, and he throws it, and he gives it a little tap-a-roo. And Omarion Hampton looks good. He looks so good. I'm just really happy about the Chargers. Hey, the Sand.
Oh my God.
Dan, first of all.
Wait, hold on.
This wasn't you that called into the hotline yourself, was it?
I just fan for a long time. And I was just wondering, I seen Justin Herbert throw the ball, and he's rotating and giving a little tappy to tap-a-roo. And
Get in your hole!
This is the beauty of why we have the Chargers Unleashed hotline, because
He looks so good.
we do not say, hey, make your voicemail serious and ask football related questions. You can pretty much do whatever you want. And sometimes you get things like this, and they're great. Love it. Honestly, Dan, I thought for a second that was you that called into the hotline, because your voice is already kind of high pitched. And I'm like, Dan might be able to hit the Adam Sandler,
I can't.
Billy Madison a little bit. But whoever did that, bravo. That wasn't bad.
Kevin says this voicemail is in honor of Happy Gilmore too, right? I mean, I hope. I hope.
Let's just hope they're not bringing it back for a money grab and that it's actually good. My fingers are crossed on that. Please.
I have trust in Adam Sandler. I really do. Sandman sounds like Tiny Tim.
Oh, God.
Robert D.
That's
says
creepy enough.
Boston Rob needs to get on here.
Actually, Dan, I think it was late yesterday when we put up the original tweet for the show. People were clamoring for Bob from Boston. They said, cancel the show if Bob from Boston does not call in.
Oh,
let's see what happens.
I was going to say, we've got some pressure here.
Bob from Boston has obviously become a fan favorite on our live shows.
Okay, so that wasn't a question that we just
No, it wasn't, but apparently he really liked Justin Herbert throwing balls.
So good.
Throwing balls.
Way to catch yourself. Well done.
But yes, if we've seen the videos from the Chargers Twitter handle, the throws have looked pretty good.
Yes. Yeah, they have. Which we'll get to OTA kind of recap, go to some kind of key takeaways from Podium, from what we've seen from beat writers who have seen it. Jake, let's get to the hotline here in a bit, but a couple of questions in the chat. Let's get to these real quick. Tony Nguyen, did you guys see Dobbins visiting the Broncos?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
AFC West running game is going to be nuts. Sans Chiefs, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with this. This would hurt a little bit for the standpoint that he goes to an interdivision team if he ultimately does end up signing with them. As we know, he currently is under a contract for a certain period of time towards the deadline, actually, for J.K. Dobbins. Whether this becomes, moves any further, I believe I can't remember the actual date of this month, but it is towards the end of this month. I think it's June 22nd, if I remember correctly. That's the deadline for when he would essentially be signed with the team. If no team decided to sign him prior to that, that could essentially, if he was, put another possible comp pick in the formula for the Chargers if he was signed by another team.
But I think that's the crux is you either sign him for relatively cheap, which would be good value, or you should be able to receive a comp pick if it goes above that elsewhere.
Yes. You just didn't expect to see the possibilities of him staying in the AFC West with another team. So time will tell on that. I would love for him to stay in this running back room. This running back room is already strong enough as it is, and in one season to turn that around with the depth that they have been able to add, and potentially if J.K. Dobbins is a part of it, that would be a amazing running back stable that you've been able to create in one off season.
Yes. Pappy 1973. Are you all going to the tailgate by the Bay again this year? Okay. Last year, that was fun.
Last year was a lot of fun.
That was fun.
I don't even know when that's taking place this year. Dan. Is that in August?
Next month. I think it's next month.
It's next month. Okay, great.
I believe it's next month. TBD. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Last year was what? Rashawn Slater, Alohi Gilman was there.
Cornelius Johnson.
Johnson was there, and then some of the OGs. Who are the folks?
We
Steelman,
ran into Chris Steelman, who gave us just some of the best stories that we have heard about himself and Nick Hardwick and the offensive line in general. So hopefully some of the other big OGs, whoever they are, would show up. That would be fun. But in general, that whole atmosphere of Chargers fans that were down there, it was a great turnout. The atmosphere was great. Everybody was just having a great time. Everybody was hyped for the season. And you get to spend a couple hours with Chargers guys that end up showing up.
Yeah. There's probably I don't remember exactly, but I want to say several hundred. It felt like Chargers fans there, signed memorabilia, players, special guests, tons of food, great fun. People are lubed up with drinks. It was great. It was a lot of fun. Matthew Dahl says prayers up for Donald Parham's speedy recovery.
Man, that was unfortunate to hear that. That was very unfortunate to see that happened to Donald Parham. Again, with the injury history that he battled enough with this team, and then to see him now with the Steelers, and at this point of the year, have that taken away from him for the upcoming season, that was a rough one.
If Ladd gets hurt, asked Tony, who's the fill-in at slot?
Well, first of all, let's not talk about if in regards to injuries. Okay, we know that they're a part of the game. We know that they're going to happen, but let's not put it out in the universe for one of the biggest weapons for Justin Herbert. But I will still answer the question. If Ladd gets hurt, who is the fill-in at slot?
I mean, depends on how you want to go. I mean, obviously, you would like to see KLS. You can see Tre Harris as a big slot. You know, maybe Oronde Gasson as a big slot. Like, again, different style.
Well,
right?
Oronde Gasson was kind of who I was leaning towards.
Darius
and then
Davis
you'd probably draw up a lot more cross routes for Quentin Johnston to work the middle of the field to replace that.
Jalen Reagor.
You probably don't replace Ladd with one guy, honestly.
Kyle said something here. Assuming he hasn't been signed, called Keenan, which that wouldn't surprise me. That scenario wouldn't surprise me. Heaven forbid. Wouldn't surprise me.
Remember, we're past the June 1st deadline. So any signings that take place now do not equate towards the comp pick formula. So there's a plethora of free agents that are still out there that you're going to see basically multiple teams in on, whoever they are.
Yeah, and it's actually one of the topics that we wanted to talk about today was kind of like the latest from this Chargers wide receiver room. And we, I think Chargers fans have been burned by preseason, offseason, training camp, pre-NFL draft, highlights and storylines and hopes and wishes and optimism and hopium and every other superlative you could think of.
Yes.
Yeah. But once again, Quentin Johnston, among others, is appearing to look improved, appearing to look more crisp in routes, according to Daniel Popper, who knows his shit. Let's just be real. Again, like the bar that was set in year one as a rookie was pretty low, but he is significantly improved from year one to year two. Now, if you see that much of a growth again from year two to year three, you're talking a pretty good player. And say what you will about Quentin last year. And yes, he had some untimely drops that have been well documented. The dude still had like over 700 yards and what was it, 8 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns? I forget exactly. Like, that's nothing to sneeze at. Again, like I know he's a first round pick, which gives him his pressure to succeed. But like 700 yards, 700 plus as a second year player, like ain't bad. He could be a lot worse. But he could be a lot better. And you're hoping to see that. And I think the suddenness and the amount of, I guess, separation is the thing that I think would help him the most. And that is route running. That is quickness. That is then obviously finishing with hands. But then you're seeing Tre Harris, Mike Williams out there, Darius Davis. You're seeing Ladd McConkey, obviously. Keandre Lambert-Smith has been out because of injury. But what I found interesting, 2 sides to this. One, Sanjay Lal, receivers coach, talked about the receivers that were drafted are showing why they were drafted, but also are showing that they are not in football shape or in NFL football shape yet, as to be expected. But it gives players like Quentin Johnston an opportunity to kind of continue this campaign. And this will be a big year for him, no doubt. But what are your thoughts on just the general wide receiver room in total right now, what you've seen from training camp and OTAs?
Tre Harris, from what we've seen and heard from training camp OTAs already, has looked pretty damn good. And when we talk about weapons that were devoid of the Chargers in their offense last year, it's those X options. So Mike Williams, Tre Harris. Those are going to be your downfield threats whenever KLS ends up getting healthy and is able to add that speed element to your offense. That's going to be there as well. Oronde Gadsden in that. I know he's not a wide receiver, but in terms of what your priority was for guys who are big on contested catches, big time catch radius, able to create separation off of man coverage, which no other wide receiver outside of Ladd McConkey could do that last year. Here's what I'll go with Quentin Johnston. Yes, Dan, I agree with you that, and I've been in agreement that when you look from year 1 to year 2 for Quentin Johnston, yes, it's an improvement. You still have big expectations for year 3. We found out last year what Quentin Johnston is not. He is not your X receiver. He's going to be your Z. Where do you put him in position where he gets the most success in those crossing routes where he can get out in open field and beat defenders with his speed? Now, I will say this, Dan, because comment from Sanjay Law was he was asked about the expectations for Quentin Johnston this season. Mm-hmm. He said, one expectation that I have is for him to keep ascending. Now, there was more context to his quote after that in terms of saying, I'm not going to put a ceiling on that for what that means specifically. Just for
I think he said his only expectation was to keep.
Well, ascending. He said, it was to keep ascending, and then he kind of followed that up by saying, "I'm not going to put a ceiling on that in terms of what that means for his ascension for specifics." You heard Quentin Johnston yesterday talk about that he's just trying to build off of what he did last year. He has 1,000 yards for this upcoming season as one of his goals that he would like to get. But Dan, I will say this. There are a couple reasons. These aren't all just related to Quentin Johnston. But when you look at the fact that since Quentin Johnston was drafted, Darius Davis, Ladd McConkey, Brennan Rice, Cornelius Johnson, Tre Harris, and KLS.
And then UDFAs from this year.
And any UDFAs that you want to throw in there, those are all draft capital. And that's not even including bringing back Mike Williams. That's just draft capital that the Chargers have spent on wide receivers since Quentin Johnston was drafted not even 3 years ago. That's telling in a certain respect. To me, it's kind of the warning shot. Year 3, I think, is a huge year for Quentin Johnston to be able to contribute.
We weren't even talking like Jalen Reagor, Semi Fehoko. Like there's so many names.
Not even talking about that. Not even talking about that. No, I think it's a huge year for Quentin Johnston. Now, am I expecting wide receiver 1 numbers out of him? No, because and you can slice this any way you want in terms of, your perception on Quentin Johnston, and that's all subjective. And if that's your opinion, that's what it is. But, 2 years ago, where the Chargers selected him, you wouldn't have expected him at this point in time to be looking at the depth chart and possibly be looking at Quentin Johnston as wide receiver 3/4. You weren't expecting that. So this is a huge year for him to turn the corner as it relates to showing what he could do to contribute on this roster. So a lot of competition. I think it's great if you're Justin Herbert. When you look at all these weapons around you, Quentin Johnston is included in that conversation as well. But I think he knows that it's a big year for him. I think Sanjay Law understands it's a big year for him upcoming. And when you add these pieces around him, along with Justin Herbert in this offense now, Quentin Johnston has every opportunity to improve. He's already improved some things from his rookie year. Let's see if he can check up some more boxes.
Yeah, I will say, though, it does bring a smile to my face, like just thinking about the weapons at Justin Herbert's disposal this year compared to last year. And whether that be the running back room with the new running backs brought in, Omarion Hampton, Najee Harris, whether that's the tight end room, Tyler Conklin, Oronde Gadsden, the receivers aplenty, offensive line assistance here. Andre James is a depth piece, clearly Mekhi Becton. And it's unfortunate because I think Jim Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz understand like what this Chargers team needs and what they were needing. And hell, they brought in DJ Chark to do what? Exactly what this Chargers team was needing. Just couldn't do it. They brought in Hayden Hurst to do what? Exactly what this Chargers team was needing. just couldn't do it. Both of them injury-riddled seasons. Unfortunate with how freaking Hayden Hurst thing still pisses me off. But they know what they understand it, right? And this year it feels like they just double, triple, quadrupled down to get this thing right. So I like the wide receiver room, and I like how it has the basketball team, so to speak, where they have different flavors to beat you in multiple different ways. If you want to extend that out to the tight end room, they got a lot. And yeah, Brad, you're right. The offense is loaded. It really is. It truly is loaded with potential, right? We don't know what these rookies are going to look like, but all signs point towards some potential stars in the making. Jake, next voicemail. We got a bunch in here. Next voicemail here. Let's see what they got to say.
Guys, Bob from Boston.
Stop.
Last time I called, I think I
Pause.
He's back, baby.
He called. Start it over. And let's go to work.
Oh, that's so fun. Oh, shit. Which one was
broke
this one?
poor Jake. Jake, you were like catatonic on that podcast.
Okay, so for context, and what he's talking about was basically how I started the show. I didn't have the best week on the last live show that we did in terms of saying stuff correctly or saying the right names. I had just a bad day. But like I said, if I can make Dan Wolkenstein say, what the hell are you talking about? Or having people in the chat flame me or laughing their ass off, hey, I'm not doing my job if I can't make other people laugh. So this is what Bob from Boston is alluding to. Let's continue. Dan.
The chat is loving it already. He said like 6 words. Let me get my popcorn, says Matthew Dahl.
Here we go.
Bob is in the house. Let's go. Okay, let's continue this.
Like a kitty that drinks Pepsi. I mean like comatose. But that last call, everybody missed the funniest comment of the whole show. Jake's wife made Jake throw a can of black bean soup on the wall of his studio. Yes. Who calls the color of paint black bean soup?
I don't name the goddamn paint. That's what it's called. That's what it's called. And as a matter of fact, I fucking love the color. All right. Sue me. I don't make the damn name of the paint, Bob.
I will say, names of paint swatches are
very
hilarious.
Weird. They're very weird. I don't know where they come up with this stuff. Like, who is in the room thinking that, Saskatoon grease is like somehow a fuchsia or a chartreuse? Like, who the hell's thinking of this stuff? I don't know where they get the names, but I don't make them.
Oh, man, my cheek already hurt.
And who puts that on the wall? Jake, I love you, man, but meow. Jake, you also mentioned I don't like Boston. Man, I love Boston, but I don't like Harvard, and I don't like that whale we had for 20 years, Bill Belichick. Have you seen that guy's new girlfriend? Can you imagine that house? Bill, I don't like listening to Guy Lombardo and Bon Jovi. It is what it is. Bill, why are there cameras in the bedroom? It's not cheating to film a practice. Bill, I don't want to make boom boom tonight. No days off. But listen, I'm just going to comment on one rumor we heard over here.
What the hell? It's never a dull moment when Bob from Boston calls. Oh, geez. Bill Belichick has had a hell of an offseason, hasn't he? Oh, man.
Word on the street is that she took his house in Nantucket and painted the entire house black bean soup. Jesus, Jake. Now, on to the Chargers.
On the football, damn it.
Quick question, guys.
Soup.
Oh, no!
I was wondering if you guys think the Chargers should trade for it.
Hold on.
Guys,
Boston.
Wow,
I
did
know.
you?
Hold on. I'm gonna let it play
You
a little bit. I'll
fumbled.
come back. I did. I'll let it come back. Oh man. No boom boom tonight.
I never thought, first of all, Bob from Boston has talked about the color in my office. Never once did I think that it was going to be referenced in the same sentence with Bill Belichick and Bill Belichick's girlfriend. Well done.
Solid transition.
Solid transition. Yeah.
Brad says, imagine Bill at a Taylor Swift concert.
No days off.
All right, let's see if we got back.
Oh, man.
That whale we had for 20 years.
Okay,
Bill
no,
Belichick.
You're almost there.
All right, I'm almost there. Let's give it a little more time. Anthony says you guys are on fire. I didn't do shit. I just pressed the buttons.
This is just what happens when Bob from Boston calls. It's great.
No boom boom tonight. I'm gonna put that on a bumper sticker and sell that shit like hotcakes. Oh, this is too good. All right, I think we should be around time.
No days off. But listen, I'm just going to comment on one rumor we heard over here. Word on the street is that she took his house in Nantucket and painted the entire house black bean soup. Jesus, Jake. Now, on to the Chargers. I actually have two questions now that we've hit the summer season. Who are going to be the captains? You know, I feel like we just need to get mentally tougher this year. Who do you think's going to be Nurse Ratched with the happy pills in the locker room? And what do we do about Rashawn Slater? We need to get that done now so it doesn't linger and the money is there. Last, I heard way too much worry last week about the schedule and how nervous we all are about how hard it is. You guys are all Southern California. You know how to chill out. Whatever Jake had last time, everybody take some. Let the rest of the league eat black bean soup. Let's be feasting on some tri-tip steak, okay? You guys are the best. Chargers Unleashed.
God. Priceless. Okay.
Love you.
So let me get the easy one out of the way. His question relates to Rashawn Slater. I know a lot of people have been talking about this, especially recently, the fact that Rashawn Slater has not been at OTAs. Minicamp is upcoming. I'm one of the ones that is not worried about the contract whatsoever. That is going to get done. The Chargers have talked about too many times how good Rashawn Slater is. Left tackles like that do not grow on trees. And if you're talking about Harbaugh, who considers offensive lineman tip of the spear, arguably the best take that back. Not arguably, the best offensive lineman that you have to protect Justin Herbert, you're not going to let him walk out the door. So that contract will get done. I'm not worried about that whatsoever. As it relates to the captains, Dan, I would assume you're probably talking about the same old familiar faces, whether it's Justin Herbert, Derwin, Khalil, Rashawn. I don't know anybody else that you'd add to that, but that's probably the nucleus of the familiar faces that you have for the captains. And finally, as it relates to the strength of schedule, look, we talked about this during our schedule release. We have talked about this after. Dan, I had him still at the exact same record for this upcoming season. Because while the Chargers did get better, the rest of their opponents did too. It is a tougher schedule. But I think under Jim Harbaugh 2.0, I think there's going to be a lot of growth that you're going to see, not just from his coaching acumen, Jesse Minter in his second year, what he's going to bring to the team, along with Steve Klingscale. That defense, I think, is going to be reformed because there are some different pieces that are in place for some other people, especially at corner, especially along the defensive line. But again, Justin Herbert in this offense, you heard Lad McConkey talk about this yesterday when he was asked the question, what do you think that these weapons, particularly the wide receivers, are going to do for the collection of the team? And he said, it's not just going to help me. It's not just going to help Justin. It's going to help the entirety of the team. He said, I think the teams are going to have to respect the deep ball more. If you want to come up and get in the box, you're going to have to, if you're expecting the run, you're going to have to respect the play action a little bit more. He said, in general, those additions are being made to make them a more complete, versatile, balanced team. And I think that that's what they've done, especially on offense. This running back stable is stacked. This tight end room, I think, is versatile from the standpoint of the blocking and the receiving weapons that you have. And wide receiver, what you have been able to reload with the young talent that is able to go downfield, give some of those deep ball options to Justin Herbert, allow for some play action in this offense. This is Greg Roman's offense the way that he wanted to see it build in year one. I think you now have the variables that you can actually make this thing work.
Yeah, the word that I use for this offense right now is just balanced. It feels balanced. You look at the tight end room, right? You've got a healthy balance of receiving weapons and blocking weapons, to your point. You look at the receiving core, right? You've got speed. You've got Quentin, who's got speed. You've got Darius, who's got speed. You've got Ladd, who's got speed. You've got KLS, who's got speed. You've got size with Mike Williams and Quentin and with Tre Harris. Like, you've got, like, hell, go down to Jalen Reagor. Brendan Rice has downfield presence. Like, you've got a lot of balance there. Offensive line, again, I think it's going to be as far as Mekhi Becton goes and how well the left guard and center position shakes out, which I believe we'll talk about here in a bit. And then the running back duo, hell, trio, quad core, whatever you want to call it, like that's pretty damn lethal too. So balance to me, and that's kind of what I see it as. And deep, yeah. HH Force is finally some depth. Back to the question he had about captains. I wouldn't be surprised if there's someone in here in the chat saying Daiyan Henley. I think either Daiyan or Denzel Perriman will be one, if I had to guess. Bradley Bozeman was one last year. We'll see if he's one this year. I wouldn't be shocked if like a Bud Dupree does, although they already have Khalil Mack in there, so maybe not. Let's see. They don't have any running backs, so maybe like a Najee Harris, but I doubt it. Maybe Ladd. I don't know. That's a tough one. I'm not sure. I wouldn't be surprised if Josh Harris is one either. He's the captain of the entire special teams unit by far. You heard Ryan Ficken talk about it this week. But yeah, Tarheeb Still is another one. Like, you heard about his ascension and him kind of taking a leadership role already. But to your point, like, there's some that you just know, right? You know Rashawn, you know Derwin, you know Justin, you know Khalil. Then after that, I think we'll see. Next voicemail, Jake, 323-902-7586 is the number to the hotline. Let's hear what they got to say.
Quick question, you guys. I was wondering if you guys think the Chargers should trade for Evan Neal, plug him at left guard, keep Zay at center, and still on. Do you think that would solidify the interior of the O-line? Thanks. Bye.
Wait, real quick. Did you at the very end of it? Bye.
It was an extended buy. That was great. Thank you. I think that was Matthew Dahl. Shout out, friend of the show. Thank you. There's been a couple names that have been thrown around, and again, because we're post June 1st, I know Brandon Sheriff's name has also been thrown into this as far as just, another name addition that the Chargers could add for depth as it relates to the offensive line. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked whether I don't think a trade is going to honestly take place now. We saw what the Chargers did post preseason. Elijah Molden was a trade. We saw how that worked out very nicely. But as far as the interior of the offensive line, I definitely still think that this is where you really have to build it up. No question about it. This would be the first one that I would go with if I was looking to roster build, even still from a standpoint of where the Chargers roster is now. I just don't know what ultimately between now today, when we're hearing rotations between Zion Johnson and Bradley Bozeman, who's going to ultimately win the center job. I still am of the belief that Andre James, by the time that we get to September, is going to be the best fit for that. As of now, in OTAs, Jim Harbaugh and the team are doing exactly what they said that they were going to be doing, and they're giving every opportunity for that combination, whichever way it's going to end up working, to work. For Zion Johnson, this is, we talked about Quentin Johnston going into year 3. This is a huge year for Zion Johnson going into this season. We know that they did not pick up his 5th-year option. I think them giving him the opportunity to possibly start at center is their way of giving him an opportunity to add versatility to his game, which is to find a way to stick. Can he fit at center, even though he didn't play center in college. Bradley Bozeman has played some guard. He played two years at guard when he was in Baltimore. I don't know how this shakes out. I still think that your starting offensive line combo, when it all is said and done, is that it's Rashawn Slater, Daiyan Johnson, Andre James, Mekhi Becton, and Joe Alt. That'll be your starting five. But we'll see. And until that gets solidified, I don't think that they're going to end up making a move quite yet. But within the next month or so, once we get past mandatory minicamp, some things could change, because let's not forget, Chargers have an extra preseason game this year for the Hall of Fame game against Detroit. So whoever it is that they would bring in, whether it's before that, following preseason, they'd probably want them ramped up as quickly as possible. So yes, I still see as if we're talking about any additions, whether it's unsigned free agents or any trade type of candidates, that interior of the offensive line should be the target.
I'm with you. We'll get to a lot more offensive line talk here in a bit. Action Dan, Jake, I think I want to start a new thing. We haven't done enough homework on this, but anytime we get these super chats, which we always appreciate, we're always forever grateful. We need to come up with a chime. And maybe we have like folks in chat give us like
the draft chime,
like a sound effect. So I was going to do this for you today. And maybe that will be it. I don't know, but folks chat, let us know. Like, what should the chime be, whatever that is, the sound effect, when we get a super chat like this? Because I want to start adding it, because that could be fun. Action Dan 65, $20 donation. Shout out to Action Dan. Thank you. We are going to have some heavy cuts to get down to 53. I'm glad we have 4 preseason games to give the other guys a decent shot. At this point, they are practicing for the practice squad. Yeah, it's funny. Like, I think a lot of people worry about pregame or preseason and injuries, but when you got a team that has depth, it's like, yeah, you want to see those positions 60 through 100 plus get to work. Who could be that diamond in the rough? And yeah, there's going to be names that are going to be saddening to Chargers fans. They just will be, because of the depth of this team. And that's, I think, to me, in my perspective, a testament to Joe Ortiz and what he's built here so quickly in under 2 years.
It seems like every year we talk about this, Dan, whenever it gets around the end of preseason, to say, by the time the preseason's done and the cut times come down, that it's going to be tough. And some years they have been, and some have been more than obvious. And a lot of that goes to see how do the UDFAs end up performing throughout training camp and preseason. Dan, right now I'm putting it at 2 to 3 UDFAs are going to stick with this team. The obvious one is Raheem Sanders. You've heard Joe Ortiz talk about him at length. We obviously saw the contract numbers in terms of what he got as an unsigned or as an undrafted free agent. They really think of him very, very highly. And let's just say hypothetically, if J.K. Dobbins ends up sticking with this team, how do you sort out that running back room with who you have there? That in and of itself, just that running back stable, if it was you and all of those running backs were still in the room late August.
Say the names again.
Omarion Hampton, Najee Harris, you know that they're going to stick. Vidal, Sanders, J.K. Dobbins.
Haskins.
That's 6.
That's tough.
I think you're only keeping 4. You may only keep 3 for active roster days. So how are you going to sort that out? That's nasty. And that's just one position group. I haven't even gone anywhere else yet. That's just one.
Even if you take Dobbins out of the equation, it's tough.
Even if you take Dobbins out of the equation, yes, it's tough. The other one, Dan, that I'm putting money on to stick is Nico Reed.
Corner.
I think he has a lot of opportunity to make noise in that cornerback room, just because there's been so many new faces there. And when you look at how he has performed in college in zone coverage to fit Jesse Minter's defense, and he's a tackler, man. He's active. He's hungry. He can come up and get it. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's 2 or 3 UDFAs that end up sticking by the time that we get to August. And that's just going to make the cut downs that much tougher. How are you going to navigate that as constructing a roster? What is the priority at certain spots?
Next call in the hotline. Jake, they're flowing. Let's hear what they got to say. Love this.
What's up, guys? This is Matthew. How you guys doing? Just want to let you guys know that I'm not really feeling too.
Wait, this is Matthew Dahl.
Yes, he had mentioned it in the chat. So
okay, I
you
apologize.
thought Matthew was the last one.
I
This
missed
is
that.
Matthew.
Okay.
Happy right now. Listening to guilty charge. Of them last week talking about the O-line and stuff, and it's really frustrating to me listening to them. They're talking about how we're going to probably see Bozeman at center and probably Johnson at left guard. And to see that really happening again and stuff, it's really frustrating to me that we're going to have to probably see him again. So I'm hoping that they can step up, but I don't feel confident. So I want you guys' opinion and tell me how should we expect this, like if this O-line is going to step up or what's going to happen, because I'm not feeling too happy with this situation of seeing Bozeman at center and left guard Johnson. I want you guys to help me try to give me a positive and see what keeps me happy. But let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys both up.
Appreciate it, Matthew. I kind of answered this a little bit, but I do not blame Matthew or anybody else that has questions about this particular position. I know we all have trust in the coaching staff for how it is they're going to construct this offense and what it is that they want to do. And to see them kind of toying back and forth with the rotation of Zion Johnson or Bradley Bozeman between left guard and center, it's not necessarily, until you actually see it in motion, something that you want to hang your hat on, especially after what we all witnessed in the Houston playoff game. The offensive line got dominated in that game by a really, really, really good defense. And as we were talking about the schedule earlier, if you talk about defensive fronts, you got to play 3 defensive fronts in the first 3 weeks of your season, all against divisional opponents, and those defensive fronts are pretty damn good. So outside of Mekhi Becton, are you going to see some of the same results if it's Bozeman or Zion in their respective positions again? I don't know. And again, I said this to Dan pre-draft. It's hard to believe that we may be seeing an almost retread at the left guard or the center spot after that playoff performance. It's hard to believe that that was how the Chargers season ended. And then to say, we can do this again. We can get it better somehow. And again, I have full confidence. Jim Harbaugh, Joe Ortiz, and all those positional coaches know football a hell of a lot more than any of us. So I have full confidence in them on whatever it is they're going to do. But I don't have anything against people worrying about it, given what we've seen, because we haven't seen that combination in the most positive light. Because Zion Johnson and Bradley Bozeman, in terms of their overall scores and performances for 2024, was not the best. Hence the questions of why people think that there could be some free agent additions or trades, or in my opinion, by the time that week 1 rolls around, that it's Zion Johnson next to Andre James. And that ultimately should be the best combo, or excuse me, the best combo for left guard center, but ultimately what's going to make out the best offensive line for Justin Herbert moving forward. I wish I could make you feel better than that. But I also have to know that this regime is different than the previous regimes. And what they actually tell us, they actually do.
Yep.
So they don't sugarcoat things and they don't try to deflect. If they say that they're going to try this out and ultimately see how it works, they're going to do it.
You know, I kind of go back to what Jim Harbaugh has talked about. He's talked about it in Michigan. He talks about it with Chargers too. I think he has like as a plaque or a mural or a quote on the wall about like those who stay will be champions. And, you know, all the cliches about competitors welcome and the best 53 will make the team. And, you know, you see just what we see. This Chargers front office isn't stupid. This coaching staff isn't stupid. And I trust in what they are doing. I have a hard time believing that they are going to run it back unless there is some damn good reason to. And I want to give them the benefit of the doubt because who am I to question them? I mean, I will, but like, who am I to say they're wrong, at least at first? Now, I will say, though, I think that there are many ways to attack a weakness, right? Like, and I talked to Daniel Popper about this, where he had like the Advil versus the warm towel, the cool, the lights and the essential oils. Like, which one are you, right? Are you fix a problem with the exact medication or like soothing? And I would equate to that pairing of Daiyan Johnson and Bradley Bozeman coming back. It was like, you got the warm blanket, you got the, eucalyptus, you've got the warm cloth, you got Annie in the background. You're hoping that you can make it feel better with some time and energy. But I don't know if this team needs a Tylenol or an Advil and just to fix it and replace it. That said, there are many ways to fix this problem, right? Like, I know this offensive line got trucked, especially on the interior, mainly the interior. But there's a lot of reasons for that, right? Like, yeah, the Chargers offensive line couldn't hold up, but why did the offensive line need to hold up that much? Like, who was getting open aside from triple covered Lad McConkey? Who was breaking tackles and getting and kind of creating their own explosives in the backfield? Who was receiving for, who was helping as a safety valve with a tight end? Like, how was this team helping the offensive line versus the other way around? Now, yes, tip of the spear, offensive line is most important. Like, I agree with all of that, but there are other ways that you can kind of throw over that, right? Like, we all saw the Patriots of old where Tom Brady had the ball for like 2 seconds max, almost all the time he was throwing. And he would throw these stupid 5-yard outs and dinks and dunks to Wes Welker and Julian Edelman and company, and they would work effectively all the way down the field. So if the answer is run it back with those two, plus Mekhi Becton, then I think the solution would kind of be a mixed bag of things, right? Like, guys can get open faster to where Justin Herbert doesn't have to hold the ball for 7 seconds or 5 seconds. He can hold it for 2 and 3, and someone's actually there to catch the ball. They'll have somebody that can receive it. They'll have tight ends who can block better, who can receive better. They'll have at least they'll have a right side that can protect one. You can double team the left side. So like there are ways to go about it. But I'm certain that it is not going to be running it back. Well, we know it's not from a weapon standpoint. And hell, if Mekhi Becton would enable this Chargers team to run right effectively, like that changes the math than what it was previously. But I think it is telling though that it is now June 4th and we don't know if the starting 5 are on the roster.
I think it's one of two likely scenarios. It's either Daiyan Johnson at center and Bradley Bozeman at left guard, or it's Daiyan Johnson at guard and Andre James at center. I don't see them playing it out the same way that they did last year with Bradley Bozeman at center and Daiyan at left guard.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised though, dude. Like they talk so highly of Bozeman.
I know, I understand that, but they have also talked so highly of Daiyan at the center position as well.
But they've talked nothing of James.
No. Even though, remember, right after Mekhi Becton signed, Andre James, days later, was brought in. And we all thought that was it. It's like, okay, that's solidifying the center position. Great. Get a guy who's played center for a number of years going back to his college days. Great. You have the experience there. Fantastic. Haven't heard a peep out of Andre James. We'll see how everything progresses once the pads come on and you go through preseason. But I see that being one of the two scenarios. I just don't see them running it back the exact same way, say for Mekhi Becton for the offensive line. I just don't see them running it back with that same duo between left guard and center.
Yeah, and the other thing I will say, I know I've heard Daniel Popper's argument about like a way to kind of delineate who this team prioritizes is how much money they spend on a player, right? Like, and to some extent, I agree with that, but other extent, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, right? Like, look at some of the contracts that came out last year and who performed and balled out in minimum contracts, right? Like Christian Fulton, minimum contract. And I would say outkicked his coverage a mile for that what he did last year compared to how much he got paid. J.K. Dobbins, same thing.
Elijah
Denzel
Molden.
Perryman, Elijah Molden. Like what these guys are getting paid. Hell, go to 5th round picks, Tarheeb Still, and Cam Hart. Like, well, the better players get drafted earlier. Maybe. But like there are definitely exceptions to that. And that's where value comes in. I think this is going to be very interesting. We are going to see a ton of storylines and I don't want to say breaking news, but just like things coming out of left field. Like, oh, someone's on a visit. Someone might get signed. Rumor blankety blank is open to trade. Look at other 53-man rosters where guys are going to be getting cut. Like there's going to be stuff happening where we might be questioning like, oh, like maybe this is when we see a change. Maybe it's the change. But let's comments here. James Wagner says, nobody should think for a minute this Harbaugh team will ever repeat failing Herbert like last year in the protection standpoint. Like, that's what I mean. Like, I can't.
They didn't do it in the weapon standpoint. They definitely helped him there.
Yeah.
You went out and got Mekhi Becton.
Yep. Let's see. Brian Lewis. Jake, any chance James takes center and Bozeman at left guard?
I guess that's secret door number 3 as
4,
far as
5,
the
6.
possible option. But I don't, and here's why I would probably say no. I think Zion is in one of the possibilities one way or another. I think that they're going to give him every chance to succeed. Hence why they're giving him this shot at the center position. Again, he doesn't have a 5th-year option on his contract any longer. So this is a huge year for Zion Johnson, and one way or another, they're going to give him every opportunity to earn that second contract. And whether that's at center or that's at left guard, he's going to be in that starting lineup equation one way or the other.
Yeah, Branson Taylor. Michael says the tackle they drafted, Taylor, they switched to guard, would have been a day 2 pick if he was not hurt last year in college. He might be a sleeper. He might. Like, that might be hopium, but he might. Right? Brad Spicoli says, Ortiz is not done yet. We still got $30 million. Also true. And there's no names out there in free agency. We've talked about them at the top, Jake. Next voicemail on the Chargers Unleashed hotline. Let's hear it.
Yeah, it's ASAP CJ. I just wanted to know how y'all feel about Kyle Kunnard. Because I see everybody talk about everybody else, but other than Omarion Hampton, he's like one of the only guys I can just sit and watch their highlights over and over. Like, I feel like he's going to be a dog. But I don't see everybody talking about him. How do y'all actually feel about him? Y'all think he's going to could be an actual starter next year?
I'm so glad this question was asked. Number one, because I love Kyle Kunnard. I think him coming into this edge rotation with Khalil Mack and Bud Dupree, I think is a great thing for him to come in as essentially your third down, go get after the quarterback speed rusher. Essentially the same role that Tuli did when he came in to his spot 2 years ago. Now, there's some context to this because earlier today, surprising most of us, was Bud Dupree got himself a 1-year extension, 1 year up to keywords $6 million. So that essentially is keeping some veteran presence on specifically the edge roster for next season. Now, think about this for just a second. I know that this surprised a bunch of people. Some people had their own opinions about it, but just think for a minute. If this year passed and Bud Dupree was not signed, you're losing the veteran presence of both Khalil Mack and Bud Dupree. You're expecting, we don't know how 2025 is going to go for Kyle Kunnard or Tuli as of yet, even though there is big expectations for both. But we don't know come a year from now if Kyle Kunnard is going to be fully ready to make that jump. I have every faith that he will be, because eventually you need to figure out who the bookend is going to be across from Tuli when Khalil Mack is not there. And this is a huge year for Tuli, and we've talked about that in the previous episode in terms of what his responsibilities are, in terms of setting that edge. He took a little bit of a dip in his run game last year. We know what he can do in terms of getting after the passer, but in terms of the run game, that needs to be shored up a little bit. So fast forward a year from now, 2026, is Kyle Kunnard going to be ready to make the jump to be a full-time starter? We don't know. So I think the signing for Bud Dupree, again, everybody can have their own opinions on it, but it's veteran insurance, it's experience, it's a little bit more depth. I would fully expect next year in free agency for the Chargers to go out and address that area, also address it in the draft to round out that room a little bit more. Because essentially all you have now is Tuli, Mack, DUPREE, Kunnard, Tremont Morris-Brash. As far as your established guys that have actually gotten some playing time, that's it. Save for Kyle Kunnard, because he obviously hasn't taken a snap yet, but you get my point. So next year, who knows what the room's going to look like. But as far as Kyle Kunnard goes, I'm very high on Kyle Kunnard. I think where he is coming into this defensive front right now as it stands, his job is going to be to go and get the quarterback on 3rd and long. And I think he's going to have every opportunity to make big time production in this Jesse Minter defense. You saw what he did during his college career at South Carolina. I love him as a speed rusher. I only hope that he's going to be able to grow from this particular role. I would love for him to be ready next year and to have him and Tuli be the future of this edge group. Time will tell. But as far as where he's at now, he's in the perfect spot for what they need him to do.
Yeah. Let's see. There's some comments here about Rashawn Slater and personal life and stuff going on. I'm not going to comment on that. I don't know. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, figured out in terms of how contracts getting situated and done with the Chargers team. I don't know, but again, I'm not worried about the Rashawn Slater contract. I'm really not. I've met Rashawn Slater multiple times. He does not seem like, again, what do I know? But he does not seem like the guy that would be putting it to a team. Like, I don't know. I don't see it. I think he loves this team, honestly. Next voicemail, Jay. Cut about maybe 10 minutes left here. Let's see what the folks have to say on the next voicemail on Chargers Unleashed Hotline.
Hey, guys. Just wanted to comment real quick, particularly about our division. Everybody in AFC West, except for the Chiefs, invested heavily in the run game. Maybe not Denver so much heavily, but they got likely improved play from the tight end. They got a really good mid-round running back. Obviously, the Raiders got Genty, and obviously we got Hampton and Becton. It's striking to me how much people are still just riding KC and ignoring that their O-line is in shambles. It's not just that they traded away Tooney. It's that we have no idea if their left tackle situation is resolved. Right tackle was a mess. Their right tackle, Juwan, whatever his last name is, he's below average. I think KC's not going to win the division. I'm not saying the Chargers will. I think it's either us or Denver. Denver's vastly improved. I think it's going to be a dogfight for the division. I think all three teams make the playoffs again. But I don't think KC ends up on top, and it's likely because of their O-line is so bad, and then also their interior, their D-line, which they've invested heavily on, but they've gone after pass rushers, and they don't have anybody other than Jones, who's above average run defender on the interior of their D-line. Anyways, love that you guys have this chat line and love the podcast. Cheers.
Cheers. Love the question. Absolutely love it. A lot of context there. Let's break it down, kind of going in order there in terms of the run game added. Yes, the AFC West, save for the Chiefs, added some serious bodies to their run game. Ashton Genty, for about an hour and a half, as I've said multiple times on this show, I was telling Dan when we were watching the first round together, and Genty was picked, which is not something that I didn't expect to happen. But I thought to myself, got to deal with that twice a year in the AFC West. And then when Omarion Hampton was selected, I thought to myself, well, now they got to deal with that twice a year in the AFC West. Not going to lie, I was pissed when the Denver Broncos took RJ Harbaugh. He was one of my favorite running backs in this draft. I saw so many people that were, and we're talking Bronco fans here, that were upset over the RJ Harvey pick. I guarantee you're going to be happy with RJ Harvey. The dude is a monster.
Yep.
And that's now 3 running backs in the AFC West that essentially everybody in the division and everybody outside the division is going to have to take on now. The Chiefs, look, you just can never count them out. You can't do it until someone like Philly or anybody else in the division proves that they can step up and put them away and bury them. I can't bet against them. I can't bet against them with Mahomes and Reed and Spagnuolo. And going into what they invested in, yes, they invested in their offensive line a little bit because they needed to retool it. As far as their defensive line goes, I'll tell you, there's 3 picks that Dan and I talked about on this show, some more specifically from me, that I absolutely hated.
Wide receivers, one of them.
Sorry, excuse me, 4.
Sorry,
I forgot about that one. Specifically on defense, they got Aston Gelati, who's a terrific pass rusher. Like they need any more of that to go with Karlaftis and Chris Jones on the defensive line. They got Omar Narton-Lott in the interior.
That was my guy.
Which, if you've seen what he did in college in a limited snap radius, Omar Narton-Lott made the most out of every time that he set foot on the field, and that man can get after it.
Like, to me, he's like a very high ceiling, but maybe floor is lower than some of the other pass rushers. But dude, if he hits.
And then finally on defense, Noel Williams out of Cal, who was one of my favorite cornerbacks to watch through this evaluation process. I will never ever get over the fact that oh my God, Dan, why am I flubbing on the cornerback name all of a sudden?
No idea where you're going.
I caught who's the big time corner for Kansas City? Somebody help me.
McDuffie.
Thank you. I will never ever get over the fact that McDuffie went to the Chiefs.
And Daiyan Johnson went to the Chargers.
And now you add Noel Williams to that secondary. And again, we're talking same coaching staff with Spagnuolo. He knows how to coach him up. So given those variables, it's going to be hard still, even for the Chiefs to get beaten or lose the division. However, yes, I agree with the final aspect of that caller said, that it's not going to be as easy as it's been for the last decade for the Chiefs to take the division this year. I expect this division 100% across the board, all 4 teams to be more competitive. I expect it actually to be a very similar situation to last year, where 3 teams out of the AFC West end up making the playoffs. So if there's been, usually the way to beat the Chiefs is they have to beat themselves or they go up against the Philadelphia Eagles and get their ass kicked. This is different. This feels different, where it's not so much that the Chiefs, the only way to beat them is beat themselves. I think every other team in the AFC West now has the personnel to go up against it. From the coaching standpoint and from the personnel standpoint, it's going to be a hell of a division for the AFC West. It's going to be a gauntlet.
Yep. I'm kind of going with, I think Matthew Dahl had talked about this. So I'm going to pull this up. It's kind of hard to read this, kind of an eye chart. But what we're seeing is the Chargers just don't beat the Chiefs. Like, they just don't. So 2024.
Until that changes.
Chargers lost both of those. 2023. Sorry, all 3 of them. 2023, Chargers lost 31-17. Chargers lost 30-27. 2022, Chargers lost 24-27. 2021, Chargers lost 34-20 in overtime. Chargers won in 2021 at Kansas City. Somehow, miraculously, both times. I think one of those was
here's a variable.
It was when they had already clinched.
Here's a variable that I see in all these games that you're listing here. Every single one of them has taken place at either LA, San Diego, or KC. I don't see a Brazil game in there. Maybe it takes an international game to change the fortunes, which is why I have the Chargers beating the Chiefs week 1 in Brazil.
Okay,
let's go. Starting the season off 1-0.
Oh, great. Now it has me looking for Costco.
Oh, now we know what you're looking for.
I was trying to click the ad. No, I tried to close the ad, and then it comes up bigger.
Black bean soup and Dan's, skin rehabilitation cream.
Yeah, honestly, like I don't know, man. the Chargers just don't beat the Chiefs. Like there's something like, and I'm making this, I don't know the exact number, but there's something like 2-25
until they do.
So sorry, until they do, I'm not betting on it. I'm sorry. Like I'm just going with what has taken place. The best predictor is previous happenings, and not looking too bright. We're rounding out, Jake. We probably should do rapid fire here for maybe 5 more minutes or so. Then we can get this thing rolling. Anything else, Jake, before we get to rapid fire?
No, let's go.
Okay. Let's go. Pull it up.
I don't know, but you have it.
Anyone scared the quarterback from the Raiders? Jake, what do you think?
Gino? I mean, look, it's probably the best situation for both the Raiders and Geno Smith. It's a veteran presence. They're going to go run heavy. Pete Carroll's going to try to create beast mode all over again with Ashton Jeanty. And one of Dan's favorite wide receivers in this class got selected by the Raiders. They had to retool a lot, but as far as Geno Smith, it's a much better option than they have had last year. So it may not necessarily be Geno Smith throwing it all over the yard, but they may not need to when you have a beast of a running back like Ashton Jeanty in the backfield.
Yep. James Wagner says, I'm ecstatic over the combined pressure our defense will be able to send with the pieces that Jesse has. 100%. And the fact to even have Jesse back is, Lord, thank you. Thank you. Uber Goober Jack says, QJ would have been good with the Chiefs. Maybe. I don't know. James Wagner, preaching that positivity. They will do it. All caps. I'm with you. Ticker. Wow. Dicker was the best kicker in the league this year. Question mark? I think yes. I mean, he should have been an all-pro, but he wasn't.
As far as efficiency goes, I don't know specifically where he ranked. I know it was high. I don't know who was right around him, but it's hard to argue how good Cameron Dicker was for the team. Crazy good.
Happy 1973 Diehard Bowl Club Inland Empire Group 6th annual campout starts tomorrow at Silverwood Lake. Great show. Thank you. Appreciate it. James says the Chiefs' day of humbling is coming. Ooh, I got chills. They're multiplying.
And look, it's a great quote. I just feel like we've said this before, and
I know
I'm not.
Eventually, it'll be right, right? Eventually,
yes, I'm not putting this on the standpoint to say that nobody can unseat them out of the division. Even if they don't unseat the Chiefs, there's only going to be about a 1.5-2 game difference, from my opinion, from who takes the division to who doesn't. This isn't going to be any more of these 15-1 seasons. This isn't going to be any more of these type of situations to where the Chiefs, especially specifically this year, where Chiefs are going to rest their starters come the final game of the year when it doesn't matter, even against a divisional opponent. I don't think it's going to be that. I'm not saying that the Chiefs are going to be dethroned, because until someone does it, I can't believe that. But in terms of the division and teams being able to get after them more this year, specifically in the AFC West, that I think changes a little bit.
Yeah, I'm with you. Matthew Dahl, I don't know how you tackle 142 people with a torn labrum. Shout out to Daiyan Henley. Yeah, that's just sicko mode. But also, imagine what this is going to look like here in... Oh.
Did she have some thoughts on Daiyan Henley's torn labrum as well?
Here, Avery, come here. Here, come tell me.
Yellow balloon, and we were starting to get in the car. My balloon was popped.
Oh, you got a balloon that it popped?
Yeah.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
Can you do me a favor? Yeah. Can you say, go Chargers?
No.
You don't want to? You just said it earlier. Okay, well, can you say hi and bye to everybody? Who's that? Say bye. Okay, it's dinner time in this household. Jake, this one's fun. Imagine what I was going to say. Imagine what Daiyan Henley looks like healthy. If he did that unhealthy with the torn labrum, good Lord.
The Ranger, Agent Zero, is just a beast.
Yeah, he is. Also, so funny. That dude, we had him on the show and was absolutely hilarious. And I think you and I both talked about it immediately afterwards. Like that, you just knew he's gonna be a star. We just knew. And same thing with Tarheeb still. Had him on early on his rookie season. Same thing. Jake, this was fun. I'm hungry. The family's hungry. Jake, what's for dinner on your end? Folks in the chat, what are you eating?
I got grilled cheese and tomato soup.
Oh, dang.
Tomato bisque, to be specific.
Have you ever put pickles in your grilled cheese with tomato soup?
No, bro. No,
Don't
don't
hate it.
get me started.
Don't hate it.
Do not end this show the way you started it with your whole condiments question and everything like that, and telling me that ranch is equivalent to mayonnaise, because it's not.
It is.
But no, I do not put pickles on any of my sandwiches. Sorry for those of you who like pickles and relish and everything like that, but no, that's not me.
Dang. All right. Well, folks got me hungry too. People got Olive Garden, pizza, lasagna, grilling burgers.
Go.
Lasagna
Yes.
is amazing. Olive Garden, tacos. Now we're
carb loading, baby. That's what we do on this show.
Carb loading and shorty hoodies. That's what we do. All right. Well, we all know what Jake's eating. Everyone say it with me. Black bean soup.
Oh,
Black bean soup. I can't wait till your wife hears about this one, Jake.
She's gonna love it.
Chargers. Mayo on the pickles. Ugh.
Oh,
I can just dip.
Please tell me someone does not do that.
No. Emmanuel is also eating black bean soup. All right, folks. For Jake, you can find him at Jake T. Hefner. 1 second, baby. Myself at JNW Sports. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time on Chargers Unleashed.